The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, DACA, faces a new legal battle. Now President Biden is pledging that his administration will fight back in federal court. On Friday, Judge Andrew Hanen of Texas declared the Obama-era program illegal. He left it intact for existing recipients, but barred the Department of Homeland Security from granting new applications. DACA was enacted in 2012. It prevents the deportation of immigrants who were brought into the U.S. as children. The policy has faced intense legal opposition. Most notably in 2017, the Trump administration announced that it would end the program. Last year, a Supreme Court ruling upended that decision and revived DACA. But Friday's decision throws thousands of people's cases into uncertainty. Again, what lies ahead for the program's future? Let's discuss it with Xochitl Hinojosa. She's a former senior advisor and communications director for the DNC and a former Justice Department spokesperson under Attorney General Eric Holder. Ms. Hinojosa, welcome to the program. Good to have you with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Joshua.
What have you been hearing from folks about how this ruling might affect them? Granted, it's the first ruling in what will probably be a full appeals process, but what are you hearing so far?
Well, this is a gut punch for many families. There are families all over this country that rely on DACA. And while this doesn't necessarily impact people who currently have DACA status, it definitely puts them in limbo. And what is happening here, just to give you a little bit of context, is Judge Hanen said that you can't have new DACA applications. In the last year, we have seen about 50,000 new DACA applications. This will impact people who have been here since they were children, who know America as their home. And so this is something that is a gut punch for families. A lot of families are living in limbo. But what is reassuring right now is President Biden put out a statement saying that his Department of Justice would appeal it. There would be a DHS potential rule coming out of DHS soon, and that he supports a pathway to citizenship through Congress, whether that be reconciliation or the American Dream and Promise Act. So that was a signal to Congress that they must act through reconciliation or other means necessary.
Forgive my ignorance about the details of the ruling, but what was your sense of the judge's rationale for why DACA is illegal? I mean, what's wrong with DACA as the judge sees it?
Well, advocates have been waiting for this decision for some time. While the Supreme Court upheld DACA, or actually upheld DACA last year, a lot of people believed that that was going to be on the line and that they would strip DACA recipients of their status. They basically had a formula of how you can strip people away from DACA. So we knew it was a matter of time. DACA was always only supposed to be a temporary solution so that Congress could then therefore pass legislation. When President Obama enacted it 9 years ago, he did it because Congress would not act. So the judge here was basically saying that it was illegal. It will end up getting appealed. It will go to the Supreme Court. And if it goes to the Supreme Court, everyone knows that court, it does not bode well for DACA. And so there's a lot on the line here, but it is reassuring that the Department of Justice and the Biden administration are willing to fight and move forward.
What's your sense of why DACA has been going through this long legal fight? I think of any of the issues related to immigration, at least in my conversations with various people across the country over the last few years, when it comes to children, there seems to be a little bit more mercy, a little more understanding across the political spectrum in terms of, I can understand, having strict immigration policies on drug cartels or things like that. But little kids, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Why is this still a political football after all these years?
That's a fair question, Joshua. The polling that I look at time and time again shows that about 75 to 80% of the American people support DACA. So you're right on that. This is what the American people want. They want to support our dreamers. They want a permanent solution. But yet you hear the Republican Party with their hateful rhetoric that they use to rile up their base and try to spread misinformation about immigrants. You saw this during Trump's campaign. That's how he started his entire election. And they want to sow divide in our country. And so it's sad what this is doing. It's tearing families apart. And therefore, you see Republicans trying to, on one hand, saying that they support dreamers, but on another, they continue to attack things like DACA and say that what Obama did was beyond what he was supposed to do.
How much optimism or pessimism do you have now in terms of the U.S. doing something more lasting on immigration? I feel like DACA in some ways has lasted so long because it's a Band-Aid that seems to hold, and it allows us to just say, oh, well, we've got DACA, not realizing that, like, DACA was never meant to last forever. That was supposed to be a stopgap. But now that we're talking about DACA, the situation at the southern border, how much more pessimism or optimism do you have that now could be the time the U.S. actually does something lasting on immigration reform?
I'm optimistic. I think that this is going to be the year. I think that you have seen organizations rally across the country. The American people want a pathway to citizenship. They want this administration and Congress to fix our broken immigration system. They're frustrated because their elected leaders will not act. And so we continue to see this in our polling. But the reality is that this decision actually gives us a sense of urgency to organize around. And I am very optimistic that Congress will have this in reconciliation and will be able to pass a pathway to citizenship for people. I believe this is the year. We've been organizing around this for so long, and now is the time to do it.
Xochitl Hinojosa, I appreciate you making time to talk to us. Thanks very much.